Hey guys, MrPopZit here. Make sure to check out MrPopZit Live. It's my brand new channel and it has all the non-procedure videos, and it's the place I answer all the questions and you can come and interact with me. Make sure to check it out. It's free and it helps me keep this channel, MrPopZit, free as well. Thanks for popping by. Okay guys, this is my steatocystoma multiplex patient. This is his other arm. We got them all marked. Pretty good sized ones and then a couple real small ones. So what we're gonna do today is get him numb, and then we're gonna do what we did last time, get these out and do a little cautery if there's any bleeding. So, but that should look good. Once we get him clear, then we're gonna move to the chest. All right guys, MrPopZit here. We have them all anesthetized and ready to go here. We can see these little blebs. What I like to do is kind of grab that ball here and do a little poke. There we go. And we squeeze out those contents here, which is kind of like buttercream there. Very good. And then what I try to do is get that very edge of that sac to come to the surface. No pain? You okay on that one?
Yeah, that's fine.
Good. We can get that sac right there. Hardest part with these sometimes is the sac, because sometimes they're brittle and they just kind of fall apart. Sometimes I'll do just a little cautery and just destroy the sac as opposed to removing it entirely. Nice and warm, I like that. My dab over. Let's see. This other side, the sacs came out pretty easy, but if these ones are gonna be a little tricky. I'm gonna go to the next because that one's not coming out easily. There we go. Perfect. They don't call them butter cysts for nothing. They literally look like butter, and you can see that really goes down. That bump that's there. Once we express those contents, the sacs really aren't all that big or thick. You can see that one's right at the edge here. A little fibrous wall there. There's a good bit of that one. And it's always kind of a battle. Do you make a larger cut and make a bigger scar to get the sac out? Or do you try to make just a tiny little cut, get the bump reduced, cauterize a little, and that usually destroys the remainder of the sac. There you got little bits out of that one. I like to, on the arms, minimize scarring, actually, to be as small a scar as we want, so we don't want a bunch of tracks where he's had stitches and things like that.
No, it's cool.
Yeah. Some are more fluid, some are more cream. Let's get her getting quite a bit out of there. There we go. So that's an easy sac. Those are the ones I like. Tease those out. Just like that. Little tension at the bottom. They're just paper thin too. You can see those very small sacs. Usually just pull those right out. Very good. Good. Got that. I'm gonna see if I go. Yeah, these ones I got little bits, but sometimes the sacs aren't really intact very well on some of these. You go in there and really grab, and there's nothing really to grab. So those ones look okay. We got one out there. Right here. Little poke. Very good. See, that's a little bit more dry. I really like to get down and express. You can see there's a lot on top, but there was a good bit underneath there too. If there is a good sac, that usually brings it right up to the surface. No pain, right?
Nope.
Good. Yeah, this side I'm not feeling really big sacs at all. And the amount we're doing, I don't want to cause him a lot of big scars. So if we do get regrowth, the second time around, sometimes I'll do a little bit of a punch and a little bit bigger. However, I've had multiple where there's been no regrowth years later. So once you do a little cautery at the base there, it usually burns up any little remnant of sac that's in there. No pain? Good. Looks nice and numb. A little bit there. Okay, sorry. Let's get you a little more. Just a little bleb on these to make sure you don't feel that at the surface. A little bit here too. Okay, and that's just 1.5 millimeters there. So that looks great if we can get those drained and leave very, very small scars behind. Good. Okay. Oh yeah, it'll help you keep it up. That's perfect. I am going to give him just a little bit more at the surface on these. That's good. Little teeny tiny ones here. Okay. See if we have a superficial sac here. Little remnants we're getting out. There we go. So you can see that sac is by the surface, we'll get it. Call that friable. They're just very easily tear. That's okay. I'm gonna get those out. Okay. Tiny bit left. Sometimes you even see a little vellus hair with it. Got it. Another smaller one here. Sac came to the surface. Yeah, got it. Okay, another one right here. There we go. No pain? A little bit? No? Not bad. Very good.
Oh, like squirted up and then...
I know, it like came up. A little bit of sac right there. Some of these sacs are just literally right there, which is good. Got it. Pretty good size sac on that one. See, very fibrous. Kind of stretchy almost. All right, let's do these two here, and then those little ones should pop right out. Little cautery, they'll be done. There's a sac. Good. And popped right out too. And this one is kind of smaller, actually, I think. Any pain there? No? Good. It felt different. Good. Put some good pressure on there. It's funny, it's like every other one. One will have a great sac right by the surface. It comes out easily. There we go. Let's see that breaking apart. This little guy there, the last bit. Tease that out. Good. Got it. Okay. Do a little cautery on these, and then we're going to poke some of these little ones. Goal here is to stop bleeding, and usually that heat will burn up any of that. If there's little remnants of the sac left, that should destroy it. I like the pointed one a little better. It gets in there a little deeper. Very good. Thank you. These smaller ones usually pop out a little bit easier, but we'll see. These ones are really small. Let's go here. This is like a collection, I think, of small ones. I could feel that. It felt different. Yeah, these small ones are kind of just almost like a little sac by the surface. Let's see if we can get any out on them. I'm going to do a little cautery on those. Dab for me there. Almost done. You're doing great. Sometimes on the ones that are just a 2 millimeter sac right below there, that heat will kind of burn that up and then it just reabsorbs. I have seen that happen. These are some teeny tiny ones. Not much in some of these. These two are just a sac by the surface like those ones. So let's see what we can get out of these. Just a little. Got it. And I do find that the small ones are drier, not quite as creamy. I don't know why that is, but I have seen that quite a bit. Good. So sometimes we infuse lidocaine in there, this whole area becomes kind of puffy. And when we go through and kind of poke these sacs, we'll do a little burn on them. And then once everything's down on a follow-up, we kind of go through and see if we feel anything in there. Like on the other side, I think he has one that we'll kind of readdress when we go through and get the chest, and we'll kind of come back and look and see if there's any remnants. And the real small ones, sometimes we just don't bother much with those because once you numb them up, they're hard to even see. But once they get a couple millimeters, usually we'll try to get in there on them. Gonna see if this one had a sac. Nah. I don't see much of one there. And then this one was bigger here. You can see that heat transfer right through there, kind of the whole pocket. Actually changes color a little bit. Good, okay. So that looks good. And the one thing to remember when we're on a visual place like this, like not just on the chest that's covered, minimal scarring. That's important to patients. When we push on these and get some of that fluid out, that bump is down. So when they're typing at a computer, they look down and they don't see the bumps anymore. That's what bothers them the most. So if I can do that through a pinpoint, just 2 millimeters or 1.5 millimeters, just kind of burn that sac and it doesn't regrow, that's great. You could go through and do 4 or 5 millimeter punches with stitches in every one of these, but you're gonna really severely scar somebody. So if some of them are regrowing quickly or they keep coming back, I do a little bigger removal, but I like to go through, make this tiny hole, release what's inside the pocket. Sometimes we pull out the sac, sometimes we just burn it, but that should give him that aesthetic that he wants, and kind of these little tiny, just barely scars left over. So thanks again to him for sharing. Thanks for popping by, guys. And this is a chronic condition, so he's gonna get more. And we kind of just stay on this. After a couple sessions, we should get him pretty smoothed out and clear, and then we just kind of monitor for regrowth. So thanks again. You got to see a couple different techniques on removal there and then burning. So have a good day. Okay, guys, MrPopZit here. This is our steatocystoma multiplex patient, and this is a good example. You can see he's starting to fade here pretty nicely. This was the bigger one we did as a surgery, and you can see the scars 3 times as big as the little scars that we did by just making a small cut and trying to pull them out. Now he does have residual on 1 or 2, and that could have been a cluster. This one looks like it's right beside there, but there is one right there. We're gonna let him heal a little bit more and then come back and kind of do cleanup and get some of the smaller ones that we see. But this was his first arm that we did. You can see here healing very well. So that post-inflammatory hyperpigment goes from dark purple to like a light brown to then just an off-colored skin tone like you're seeing on some of those. So that's healing great in just a couple weeks. It hasn't been that long. And that was the first arm we did. And we come over to the arm we just did, and that's looking good. Obviously, the post-inflammatory is a lot brighter because he's still got some scabs. We just got this done. And he did have 2, I think, over here that were clustered. We got the one at the surface, but there's a bigger one underneath it. Sometimes that can be hard to feel when we put that lidocaine in. And that's why we do follow-ups and check what's still active and what isn't. And then we get those for him. So, but the big bumps that he had here, you can see how much better just these little tiny pokes are than that one that we put stitches in. And I try to, you want to be very cautious with Latin skin, African-American skin, Asian skin can hyperpigment very severely. It does go away. It can just take 12 to 18 months. And this will fade back to skin tone, but you know, it's pretty bright for a while. So if you can minimize the size of the cut and the scar, then it's not quite as bright, and it's a smaller removal. So that's what we did for him. So he's looking good. That was just a follow-up. Now we're going to do the chest today. So thanks again to him for sharing.